High functioning anxiety is when you appear high achieving, calm, successful, organized, and put together on the outside, but on the inside, you are struggling with anxiety, fear, self doubt, insecurity, people pleasing, overthinking, and overworking. In this episode, I'll be discussing 4 tips that you can practice this week to start coping with your high functioning anxiety rather than allowing it to control you. Welcome back, and welcome to Calmly Coping if you are a first time listener. Thank you so much for tuning in. So when you struggle with high functioning anxiety, you're often doing pretty well externally, and you probably have pretty high expectations and standards for yourself, but it all comes at the expense of putting your needs last. And what comes first? Work, saying yes to others because you feel guilty, aiming higher and achieving more, responsibilities, chores, to-do lists, being liked by others, and more. So these aren't inherently bad things. Many of them are actually good things. But the problem comes when your behaviors are being driven by fear and insecurity and the fear that you aren't good enough, rather than being driven by you feeling whole from within first. So I want you to remember that you are whole and complete exactly as you are. And you don't need to prove that to anybody by working harder, checking everything off your to-do list, being the perfect parent, and always doing everything perfectly. It's impossible anyway. So here are my 4 tips that you can practice this week to start coping with your high-functioning anxiety rather than allowing it to control you. Tip number 1, at the risk of sounding cheesy, is to remember how unique and amazing you are. I mean it. You have so many incredible strengths that I can guarantee you don't even realize. Anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, or doubt if another person likes you, or fear that you're not good enough, I promise that you're being way too hard on yourself. So I want you to practice making a list of your strengths and identify all the amazing qualities you have. If this sounds hard for you, then that's okay. It can be hard to identify your strengths when you don't have practice doing it, but I can guarantee that that does not mean that you don't have strengths. So here are some examples. Maybe you're thoughtful, organized, caring, loyal, committed, detail-oriented, creative, intelligent. You get the picture. Take some time to think of what your personal strengths are, and maybe put this in a place where you can easily see it so that you can be reminded in those moments where you're feeling doubtful or insecure. Tip number 2 is to practice self-compassion and speak to yourself like you would to a friend. So do you tend to be really hard on yourself? Do you put a lot of pressure on yourself and expect everything to be perfect and feel like a failure if it's not? At some point in your life, you may have learned to be hard on yourself as a way of motivating yourself and avoiding failure, such as in school. But being hard on yourself doesn't make you do better. It makes you feel so much worse. Would you say half of the things you say to yourself to a good friend of yours? You probably wouldn't. So try changing the way that you speak to yourself. An easy way to practice this is to speak to yourself like you would to a friend. So think of a struggle that you're currently going through. I want you to bring it to mind right now and reflect on how you're currently speaking to yourself when it comes to this struggle. Are you having thoughts like, why is this so hard for me? I can't believe this. I can't do anything right. How come I can never stay on track or be consistent with anything? Other people must be doing it better than me. These are just some examples, but think of what comes to mind for you when it comes to how you speak to yourself regarding your struggles. Now, I want you to think of what you would say to a friend who's going through the same struggle you're going through right now. How might that be different? Maybe you would say to your friend, it's really hard to feel this way, but I'm here for you. Or you're being really hard on yourself, and I think you have a lot more strengths than you realize. Or everything's going to be okay. It might feel hard right now, but it won't feel this way forever. So coming from a place of compassion and extending that to yourself can be really transformative in coping with high-functioning anxiety. Before we get to tip number 3, I want to mention that I have a free PDF where I have all of these 4 tips along with spaces for journaling so that you can implement them. If you want to download this PDF with my 4 tips to overcome high functioning anxiety, then you can go to calmlycoping.com/4 tips. So again, that's calmlycoping.com/4 tips. And you can download that PDF. So tip number 3 is to listen to your body and take it easy when you need to. So it's so easy to push through the signs that your body is giving you that it's time for a break. These signs can look like tiredness, headaches, muscle tension, hunger, difficult emotions like anxiety, irritability, and frustration, difficulty concentrating, and more. So these signs don't mean that you're not good enough to do what you have to do and to keep pushing through. It's not a reflection of who you are as a person. Doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you're human. So practice listening to the signals your body is giving you, whether they are physical or emotional, and ask yourself, what does my body need right now? Is it time for a break, a nap, a walk around the block? Practice tuning into yourself and what your body is telling you. And tip number 4 is to practice physical relaxation to release tension. So anxiety is very physical, and it can feel like difficulty breathing, jaw tension, muscle tightness, twitches, increased heart rate, headaches, and so much more. I've heard from a lot of clients that they struggle with tension in their jaw, and this can actually result in grinding your teeth or feeling pain when you wake up in the morning. I used to struggle a lot with difficulty breathing and tension on my chest. And even when I was younger, I used to have twitches like in my face. I would twitch my nose. And you might experience some of these physical symptoms from anxiety. So that's when it can help to practice taking deep breaths and intentionally releasing the tension that builds up in your body that you might not even be aware of. Because the thing is, since this is traveling with you throughout your day and you might be so caught up in your head, you may not even be aware of all that tension and that buildup that you're holding onto in your body. So one way to do this is to do a quick mental scan through your body. So if you're in a safe space now, try practicing this and bringing attention from your head to your toes. So recognize and focus on the top of your head, your face, your jaw, your neck, shoulders. And as you're going through, pay attention and see if you notice tension anywhere in your body. Keep traveling down through your chest, your upper back, your mid back, your stomach, your lower back, your hips, thighs, knees, your calves and lower legs, your feet, your toes. As you're going through, see if you notice tension anywhere in your body. And then breathe into that area where you notice tension and slowly release the tension and keep practicing that throughout the day. Because as you go throughout your day, the tension is probably going to return. So I think this can be a great practice and reminder to bring back to yourself. Because the thing is, when you're actually focusing on releasing that tension, that is bringing more calm into your body and less of that stress and anxiety. Because it becomes a feedback loop. The more tension you hold in your body, the more anxious thoughts you're going to have. And so if you can release some of that tension in your body, then it's going to result in less anxious thoughts coming up. So start small and practice one of these coping mechanisms this week and see if you notice a difference. The first step is awareness. So start by bringing awareness to the moments where you're hard on yourself, experiencing muscle tension, or you're pushing past your limits, and then try changing that behavior. So put this into action and then let me know how it helps. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can share your thoughts in my free Facebook group for high achievers with high functioning anxiety, Calmly Coping. You can go to calmlycoping.com/group to join. While you wait for next week's episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm.